Nobody knew her real dreams. All Lagos saw was a young woman behind the wheel of an old bus, shouting for passengers and dodging potholes. But every night, when the city slept, she carried more than people. She carried hospital bills, school fees, a sick mother's pain, and 2 young boys' future. On the same night, in a city of glass buildings and armed guards, a young man was stepping out of a luxury party surrounded by wealth, power, and enemies he never saw coming. Before sunrise, one of them would lose everything. Before sunrise, the other would save a life without knowing its worth. Because sometimes, destiny does not knock. It enters your bus, bleeding, broken, and forgotten on a dark Lagos road. Anna woke up before the alarm could ring. The faint light of early morning crept through the small window of their modest apartment, touching the cracked walls and the tired ceiling fan that hummed like it was begging for rest. Anna sat up slowly and stretched her arms. She had slept lightly, as always, half of her mind awake, listening for her mother's breathing. She stood up and reached for her neatly folded clothes, clean jean trousers, a simple polo shirt, and fresh socks. She washed her face, brushed her teeth, and tied her short hair neatly before pulling on her face cap. She looked at herself in the small, cracked mirror and nodded once. No matter how hard life was, she refused to look defeated. She walked gently to her mother's bed. "Mama," she whispered softly, "good morning." Her mother opened her eyes slowly. Anna smiled, wiped her face with a warm cloth, and helped her sit up. She gave her the right drugs, counted carefully, and a cup of water. Every tablet mattered. Every coin spent on medicine was money she had fought hard to earn. "You be strong today," Anna said, squeezing her mother's hand. "I'm here." Next were her brothers. "Tom, Leo, if you people don't wake up now, school will wake you up with punishment," she said, clapping her hands lightly. They laughed and jumped up. Soon the room was alive. Together, they said a prayer, thanking God for all he had done for them. Anna helped them iron their uniforms quickly, packed their bags, and served them a simple breakfast, feeding her mother herself. "Tom, what's 7 times 8? 56. Good. Leo, read that sentence again." She corrected them patiently, her voice firm but full of love, teaching them their assignments and the topics to expect in their class tests. "Listen to me seriously," before they left. "Your books are your escape. Don't joke with them." They nodded. They always did. After locking the door, Anna walked briskly toward the bus parked nearby. The old bus waited like a loyal friend. She touched the steering wheel gently and prayed for God's guidance and protection before starting the engine. "Let's go," she murmured. The engine coughed, shook, then came alive. The motor park was already buzzing. Shouts flew in every direction. Conductors argued. Hawkers sold bread and drinks. Anna stepped down and clapped her hands loudly. "Oshodi, straight to Oshodi. Enter with comfort, no squeezing." A woman hesitated. "Madam, enter Joe. AC na natural breeze, but comfort dey." People laughed. A young man shook his head. "Driver, you sure say this bus no go break down?" Anna laughed loudly. "My brother, this bus na stronger than my problem. Enter." That did it. He entered. The Agbero boys noticed her immediately. "Ha, boss lady don't show. My G, sharp babe. Anna, you go load today oh." They surrounded her bus, not to disturb her, but to protect her space. "Abeg, help me balance the line," Anna said. "No worry, boss lady. Anybody wey disturb you go see us." She paid her park fees cleanly. No cheating, no arguments. Respect flowed naturally. As passengers entered, Anna cracked jokes, greeted elders respectfully, and teased stubborn customers until they laughed and climbed in. Her energy pulled people toward her bus like a magnet. Soon, only 2 seats were left. "Last 2, enter make we go," she shouted. They filled instantly. Anna climbed into the driver's seat, adjusted her mirror, and exhaled slowly. Sweat dotted her forehead, but her eyes were bright. Another bus loaded. Another small victory. She started the engine and drove off. The bus rolled forward with a tired but steady hum as Anna merged into the busy Lagos road. The morning sun was already hot and the city was fully awake. Horns blared from every direction. Keke drivers shouted. Okada riders squeezed through impossible spaces. To Anna, it was all normal. This was her daily classroom, and she knew every lesson by heart. "Driver, abeg, slow down small," a woman shouted from the back. Anna smiled through the mirror. "Madam, no worry, I got you. Lagos no be village." The bus burst into laughter. She drove with confidence, one hand on the wheel, eyes sharp. She avoided potholes like they were traps, swerved smoothly around reckless drivers, and kept her cool even when someone insulted her for no reason. At one bus stop, 2 men began arguing over seats. "Na my seat be that," one shouted. "Which seat? You just enter now," the other replied. Before it could turn ugly, Anna spoke firmly. "My people, abeg, peace dey cheaper than stress. Both of una sit down, make we dey go small time. Everybody go reach their destination, no stress at all." They grumbled but obeyed. The tension died instantly. An elderly woman struggled to climb in at the next stop. Anna parked properly, stepped down, and helped her gently. "God bless you, my daughter," the woman said. "Amen, Mama," Anna replied with a smile. As the bus moved again, Anna noticed a phone on one of the seats, new, expensive, and buzzing with calls. She picked it up, glanced at it, and sighed. "Who forgets phone for here?" she asked loudly. No answer. At the next stop, she asked again, still nothing. When the bus finally emptied, Anna didn't hesitate. She answered the ringing phone. "Yes, you forget your phone in my bus. Come to the motor park, I will wait." When the owner arrived later, breathless and shocked, he stared at her like she was not real. "You mean you didn't keep it?" Anna frowned. "Why I go keep waiting no be my own?" The man shook his head and thanked her again and again. People watching nodded in respect. That was Anna, poor but rich in honesty. By afternoon, her energy began to drop. She parked briefly near a small pharmacy, counted her money carefully, and bought her mother's drugs. She removed the exact amount for Tom and Leo's school needs and tucked it safely away. What remained was small, but she would manage. As she drove past her street, her heart tightened. Her landlord stood outside the building, arms crossed. "Anna," he shouted. She stopped the bus. "Rent is almost due, no stories." "I know, sir," Anna replied calmly. He scoffed and walked away. She drove on, jaw tight, fear pushing against her chest, but she refused to stop. Later, during a short break, she sat alone in the bus and stared at the steering wheel. Her mind drifted back to notebooks, classrooms, and the dreams she had once held so close. She remembered the debates she had won, the prizes in maths competitions, the awards she had proudly held. Her WAEC and JAMB results were top of her class, full marks in so many subjects. She had earned an admission to the university she had longed for. But life had other plans. Her father's sudden death, the sickness of her mother, and the responsibility for her younger brothers had forced her to trade lecture halls for the driver's seat of her late father's bus. Her dreams paused, but her courage did not. And right here, before the night fully fell, she had to make a couple of trips to get enough money for fuel, pay the landlord's rent, and buy the food her family needed. With this realization, she started the engine and drove off. Are you enjoying Anna's journey so far? The creators of this channel work day and night to bring you the best stories. So please take a moment, subscribe to Folktales with Oni, turn on the notification bell, and like the video if you're enjoying the story. We really appreciate your support. Now, let's go on with the story. As evening approached, the city slowed, but Anna didn't. She wiped her face, adjusted her cap, and decided to make one more trip. Passengers laughed, joked, and some Agbero boys called her out loud. "My pilot, my G, sharp babe, carry go, nothing do you." She responded with a cheeky grin, joking back as she loaded the last few passengers. By the time she returned home, night had fallen fully. She stepped into the small kitchen, tired but determined. The aroma of spices filled the air as she cooked a sumptuous jollof rice and tender goat meat. She served her brothers first, making sure they had enough. Her mother, lying in bed, received her food and medicine with a grateful smile. Anna sat for a moment, exhausted but content. This was her life. Hard, demanding, but full of love. Meanwhile, at the most privileged end of Lagos's gateway to the world, Murtala Mohammed International Airport radiated quiet dominance. This was not the chaotic, overcrowded side known to the everyday traveler. This was the side of influence and affluence, where private jets rested like sleeping giants on the tarmac. Luxury SUVs moved in silent convoys, and powerful men and women walked with unhurried confidence. Here, wealth spoke softly but carried immense authority. Every glance, every handshake, every step carried weight. A sleek aircraft descended smoothly, its tires screeching lightly as it touched the runway. Inside, Daniel Eze gazed out the window as Lagos unfolded beneath him, vast, restless, brilliant. The skyline shimmered in the afternoon light, a mix of promise and power. He adjusted his jacket, ran a hand through his neatly styled hair, and let out a slow breath. After years at Harvard Business School, graduating top of his class, he was finally home. As Daniel stepped into the arrival hall, familiar faces rushed forward. "Daniel!" Clara Eze called out, her voice trembling with joy. She embraced him tightly, holding him as if to confirm he was truly there. Her eyes glistened with pride and relief. "My son, welcome home." "Mom, Dad," Daniel said warmly, pulling them both into a hug. "I missed you. It feels really good to be back." Vincent Eze laughed deeply and clapped Daniel on the back. "Top of your class at Harvard, you didn't just make us proud, you announced yourself to the world." Then, "Look at this guy," a familiar voice burst through. Daniel turned just in time to see James pulling him into a tight, brotherly hug. "Bro," James laughed. "Welcome back home. You just vanished into America and came back a whole boss." Daniel laughed genuinely this time. "You haven't changed at all." "And you," James replied, shaking his head, "you look like responsibility is already chasing you." James grabbed Daniel's luggage without waiting for permission. "Come on, CEO in training. Lagos has missed you." As they exited, a convoy stood waiting, security men alert, doors already opening. The SUV glided into motion, followed by security vehicles. Traffic seemed to yield instinctively as they moved toward Lekki, the sun dipping low and casting gold across the city. The Lekki mansion emerged like a fortress of luxury, towering walls crowned with surveillance cameras, fountains dancing under warm lights, a private helipad gleaming nearby, and luxury cars lined perfectly along the driveway. Armed guards stood watch, disciplined and respectful. Daniel stepped out slowly, absorbing everything. Instead of heading inside, he turned to the lined-up staff. "How are you all?" he asked, smiling. "I hope everyone has been well." The gateman's eyes widened in surprise. "Yes, sir. We are very well, sir. Welcome home." Daniel nodded warmly. "I didn't forget any of you," he added. "I brought gifts. I'll share them later." A ripple of excitement moved through the group. Smiles spread instantly. "Thank you, sir," they chorused, joy lightening their faces. James leaned close. "See? You just bought loyalty without trying." Inside, the mansion buzzed with restrained celebration. Politicians, senators, oil executives, and business giants filled the hall, offering handshakes layered with ambition. "Harvard's finest," one senator said. "The future of Nigerian business," another added. "Your return changes everything," a powerful investor murmured. Daniel acknowledged them calmly, aware of the expectations already forming around him. Then he noticed Lucas Eze. Lucas stepped forward with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Welcome back, cousin," he said. Daniel met his gaze and returned the handshake politely. He didn't miss the tension, the tightly clenched jaw, the forced grin. Lucas knew what this meant. The oil companies he had been controlling as acting CEO with forged reports and quiet manipulation were no longer his playground. Dinner followed, simple but elegant. Fried rice, chicken, fresh fruits and drinks. Laughter filled the room, but beneath it all, power shifted quietly. James leaned close, grinning. "Bro, tonight you rest, but tomorrow I'll take you around town, show you some fun, maybe introduce you to some beautiful babes Lagos style." Daniel smiled faintly. One thing at a time. At the end of the welcome party, as the night deepened, Daniel stood silently for a moment at the balcony, looking around. Wealth, influence, expectations, home. Yet, somewhere within him, something stirred, a quiet sense that his return had set forces in motion far beyond comfort or control. And miles away, in the busy streets of Mushin, a young woman named Anna navigated traffic in her father's bus, unaware that fate had already begun weaving their paths together. The first rays of morning sunlight slipped gently through the tall glass windows of Daniel Eze's bedroom, painting long golden lines across the polished marble floor. The mansion was unusually quiet, calm, orderly, almost reverent, like it was holding its breath for what the day would bring. Daniel rose from bed without hesitation. Discipline had long replaced laziness in his life. In the bathroom, warm water poured over him, steady and soothing, washing away the last traces of sleep. As he stood beneath the shower, his thoughts were already moving. Figures, plans, responsibilities. When he stepped out, he dressed carefully in a crisp tailored suit, fastening his cufflinks and adjusting his tie in front of the mirror until it sat perfectly. He looked composed, focused, ready. Downstairs, the dining room glowed softly in the morning light. The long table was set neatly with fresh fruits, warm bread, eggs, tea, and juice. The staff moved quietly, ensuring everything was perfect. Daniel greeted each of them by name, earning surprised smiles and respectful nods. "Good morning, sir." "Good morning," Daniel replied warmly. "Thank you for this." Clara Eze watched him closely as he took his seat. Pride filled her eyes, but so did concern. "How was your night, Daniel?" she asked gently. "Peaceful," he replied. "I slept well." She hesitated, then said, "I've already spoken to the chief of security. I want at least 2 men to go with you today." Daniel paused, then smiled softly. "Mom, I understand, but I'll be fine. I need to start this on my own." Clara turned immediately to her husband. "Vincent, talk to him." Vincent studied Daniel for a long moment before speaking. "This is the seat you are prepared for. The company is yours to lead now. But remember, power doesn't remove danger. Be careful." Daniel nodded. "I will, Dad." Vincent smiled proudly. "You're taking your rightful place today. I couldn't be prouder." Breakfast continued with light conversation, but beneath it was something heavier, expectation. When Daniel stood to leave, Clara sighed but said nothing more. Outside, Daniel drove himself in his sleek car, enjoying the quiet hum of the road. No convoy, no escorts, just him and the future unfolding ahead. At the company headquarters, the atmosphere shifted the moment he arrived. Staff straightened, conversations hushed. Waiting at the entrance was Mr. Obina, the assistant manager and a long-time loyal friend of Vincent. "Daniel," Obina said warmly, shaking his hand. "Welcome. It's good to see the company back in your hands." "Thank you," Daniel replied. "Let's get to work." They walked through the building together. Daniel greeted everyone, cleaners, receptionists, junior staff, something Lucas had never bothered to do. This warmth unsettled certain eyes. Lucas Eze stood near the executive wing, arms crossed, a smile fixed carefully on his face. "Lucas," Daniel said, respectfully, extending his hand, "thank you for holding things down while I was away." Lucas took his hand, forcing a chuckle. Of course, family first. But inside, irritation burned. This was my office, my authority, slipping away. Over the next few days, Daniel worked relentlessly. He arrived early, left late, reviewed reports personally, and asked questions, real questions. Staff found themselves respected, heard, valued. Lucas watched all of it with growing resentment. Then one evening, Daniel noticed something off. Numbers that didn't align, funds missing, transactions unexplained. He called Lucas into his office. "Some figures don't add up," he said calmly. "Can you explain this?" Lucas stiffened. "Those reports were approved. Everything is fine." Daniel leaned forward slightly. "I'm sure it was an oversight. Just make sure it doesn't happen again." Lucas forced a smile. "Of course." But inside, fury exploded. "He's challenging me." That night, Lucas sat alone, his thoughts dark. This company was mine. That wealth should be mine. His jaw tightened. I need him gone. Meanwhile, Daniel took work home, spreading documents across his desk late into the night. Clara knocked gently on his bedroom door. "Daniel," she said softly, "you don't have to push yourself so hard." He smiled tiredly. "I'll rest soon, Mom." As she left, Daniel returned to his work, unaware that while he built the future, someone else was quietly plotting to destroy it. In Lagos, the name Eze carried weight, and now with Daniel's return, it carried fascination. Wherever the family appeared, cameras followed. News crews lingered outside restaurants, waited near event entrances, and hovered along highways just for a glimpse. Headlines whispered about legacy, power, and the handsome heir who had come home to take his place. From charity luncheons to private meetings, the Eze family moved like celebrities, their presence drawing attention without effort, and Daniel was always at the center of it. Yet, despite the glare, Daniel remained unchanged. He was not an extrovert chasing crowds or noise. After work, he preferred quiet, research papers spread across a desk, business journals bookmarked, soft music playing while he worked on ideas he loved. Solitude gave him clarity. It always had. James knew this about him, knew it from their secondary school days when Daniel chose the library over parties. But Lagos was a different beast, and James was determined to show him its lighter side. "Guy, you can't lock yourself indoors every night," James insisted one Saturday morning. "You've conquered boardrooms, now let Lagos entertain you." Reluctantly amused, Daniel agreed. They started with beach resorts, white sand, gentle waves, laughter floating through the air. It didn't take long. A woman approached, smiling boldly. "Daniel Eze, right? I watch the news. You should let me show you around sometime." Daniel smiled politely. "That's kind of you, but I'm not looking for anything right now." She laughed, surprised but impressed, and walked away. At the golf course, another leaned close after a perfect swing. "You're focused. I like that. Dinner?" He chuckled softly. "I'm flattered truly, but I'll pass." Even at quiet eateries, someone always tried, slipping a number onto his table, offering a playful wink. Each time, Daniel declined with grace. James shook his head constantly. "You're wasting premium opportunities, my guy." Daniel only smiled. "Some things aren't opportunities to me." Even back at the mansion, visitors tested their luck. His calm smile, steady eyes, and gentle refusals became almost legendary. By nightfall, Daniel would retreat home, content, reflective. He had faced temptation, chosen discipline, and stayed true to himself. Lagos glittered outside with endless distractions, but Daniel knew the journey ahead would demand more than charm. And he was ready. The afternoon sun poured softly through the tall windows of the Eze mansion when Clara Eze received her guest.
The living room was serene and refined, filled with the quiet confidence of old money, until the visitor arrived. The woman stepped in with effortless authority, dressed in flowing designer fabrics, gold jewelry glinting subtly at her wrists. Her posture was poised, her gaze sharp. This was Mrs. Victoria Adewale, wife of one of the most powerful politicians in the state, a woman accustomed to rooms where decisions were made and destinies shaped. They embraced warmly, the kind of embrace shared by women who had weathered decades of influence together. "It's been far too long," Victoria said, settling elegantly into her seat. "Indeed," Clara replied with a knowing smile, "so much has changed." At Clara's gentle instruction, staff appeared with a polished tray, freshly sliced fruits arranged delicately, and a bottle of red wine beside 2 crystal glasses. Clara nodded approvingly. As the staff poured the wine and withdrew quietly, the conversation flowed easily at first. Family matters, political shifts, business growth, and the changing face of Lagos society. Then Victoria leaned forward slightly, her voice softening but sharpening in intent. "Our families have always stood strong," she said. "We have wealth, influence, respect. But imagine how unshakable we could become together." Clara understood instantly. "A union between our children," Victoria continued, lifting her glass, "would seal everything: political protection, business security, long-term dominance. My husband is prepared to stand fully behind your family." Clara took a slow sip of wine, thoughtful. She knew the reality of the world they lived in, how quickly fortunes could be threatened, how vital political shields were. That evening, she spoke to Daniel. They sat together in the quiet dining room, the house calm after dinner. "My friend visited today," Clara began gently. "Her daughter's name is Tara. She's beautiful, educated, from a very powerful family." Daniel's brow creased. "Mom." "She believes a relationship between you both could secure a strong alliance for the company. Protection, stability." Daniel leaned back, exhaling slowly. "I don't want a woman chosen like a business contract. I want someone with character, not strategy." "I understand," Clara said softly, "but sometimes love grows. Just meet her. Give her a chance." After a long pause, Daniel nodded. "One chance, that's all." Soon, Tara Adewale began visiting the mansion. She was striking, flawless makeup, expensive perfumes, designer heels clicking confidently against marble floors. She spoke loudly, laughed freely, and moved as though the world existed to serve her. But it didn't take long for Daniel to notice what lay beneath the polish. She snapped at staff for trivial delays, rolled her eyes when drinks weren't cold enough, scoffed when plates were served a minute late. "Do these people even know what professionalism is?" she muttered openly once, not bothering to lower her voice. Staff exchanged uncomfortable glances. Daniel noticed. It unsettled him deeply. Then came the date. They went to an upscale restaurant. Soft music, warm lighting, quiet elegance. Everything was perfect until her meal arrived. She stared at the plate, her expression darkening. "This isn't what I ordered," she snapped sharply. I'm sorry, Ma. Let me fix it." Before he could finish, she slapped him. The sound echoed through the restaurant. Conversations died instantly. Heads turned. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. "You are useless. Do you even deserve this job?" Daniel stood up immediately. "That is unacceptable," he said firmly, his voice steady but unyielding. "I'm sorry. Please forgive this behavior." The waiter nodded, shaken, gratitude flickering in his eyes. Tara scoffed. "Why are you apologizing? People like him are nothing. We're above them." Daniel looked at her quietly. Something inside him hardened, something final. Back at the mansion, nothing changed. She insulted staff openly, complained endlessly, and flaunted entitlement like a badge of honor. One evening, Daniel called his parents. "I can't do this," he said calmly. "She has no respect for people." Clara sighed. Marriage can change a person. Daniel shook his head. Character doesn't change with rings. From that day, he distanced himself. Polite, respectful, but unmovable. He had seen enough. Wealth, beauty, power. They meant nothing without dignity. And once again, Daniel chose his principles over pressure.
Lucas sat alone in his office, long after the last staff member had gone home. The building was silent, the kind of silence that pressed against the ears. Outside, Lagos glowed endlessly. Streetlights flickered, cars crawled along distant roads, and skyscrapers blinked like watchful eyes. Yet inside Lucas, there was no light, only bitterness. For months, he had tasted power. As acting CEO, he had signed documents that changed lives, chaired meetings where seasoned executives listened carefully to every word he spoke. His name had been copied on emails that mattered. His decisions had shaped the company's direction. For the first time in his life, he felt seen, important, necessary. Then Daniel returned. Just like that, the chair was no longer his. The authority slipped quietly from his hands as though it had never truly belonged to him. Now he sat beside Daniel in meetings. Now he reported instead of commanded. Now the praise that once brushed past him landed squarely on Daniel's shoulders. Young, brilliant, rightful Daniel. During the day, Lucas smiled. He congratulated. He played the loyal cousin perfectly. But at night, his thoughts darkened. If Daniel wasn't here, if something happened. Daniel was the only child, no siblings, no backup heir. In his absence, the company would fall back to blood, to him. That night, Lucas crossed the line he could never return from. He met them in a quiet, forgotten corner of the city, men with hard eyes and voices that asked no unnecessary questions. The agreement was simple. 10 million naira, one job, make it look like a robbery, no connection back to him. They nodded. Money exchanged hands. Fate was set in motion. A few days later, James finally wore Daniel down. Just one night, James said, clapping him on the shoulder. You won't die from enjoying life small. You work too hard. Daniel hesitated, then smiled faintly. All right, one night. The party was everything Lagos nightlife promised. Elegant, loud, alive. Music thundered through the hall. Perfumes mixed with laughter. Conversations overlapped. When Daniel entered, heads turned. Admiring glances followed him. Women whispered, smiled, tried to get closer. He remained himself, calm, polite, distant. After a while, the noise began to tire him. I'm heading out, he told James. He got into his car and drove off alone, the city lights stretching endlessly ahead, blurring into golden streaks against the windshield. Behind him, another car followed, slow, careful, patient. Daniel didn't notice at first. Then the headlights grew closer. Suddenly, bang! Glass exploded. Another gunshot shattered the night. Pain ripped through Daniel's body as the steering wheel jerked violently from his grip. The world spun. The road twisted. Control vanished. The car veered off the road. Then, silence. The assassins moved quickly, efficiently. They dragged his limp body out, checked for signs of life. He was barely breathing. They took his car, wiped what they could, and dumped him into a roadside bush. Cold, bleeding, forgotten. Then they vanished into the darkness. Across the city, Anna was still driving. The night had been unkind. No passengers, no luck, only exhaustion pressing into her bones. She sighed, tightening her grip on the steering wheel. One more run, she muttered. Then I go home. Her headlights cut through a quiet stretch of road when something caught her eye. Something wrong. She slowed. Fear crept up her spine. What if it's a trap? Lagos nights were dangerous. Everyone knew that. But something pulled her closer. She stopped the bus, stepped down, and froze. A man lay half hidden in the bush. Blood stained his clothes. His breathing was faint, uneven, fragile. Hey, hey, she whispered, shaking him gently. No response. Her heart pounded. She didn't know who he was, didn't know his name, didn't know his story. She only knew one thing. If she left him, he would die. With trembling hands and all the strength she had, Anna dragged him into the bus. She drove at full speed towards the nearest hospital, praying under her breath the entire way. At the emergency ward, the nurses hesitated. "Madam, treatment requires deposit." Anna emptied her bag on the counter. Crumpled notes, coins, the entire fruit of her long, exhausting day. "This is all I have," she said, voice breaking. "Please, save him." The doctors exchanged looks, then they moved. Hours crawled by. Machines beeped, doors opened and closed, time stretched painfully. Finally, a doctor stepped out. "He will live, but there's a problem." Anna's breath caught. "He has lost his memory. The trauma was severe." Inside the ward, Daniel opened his eyes, blank, confused, empty. He didn't know his name. He didn't know his family. He didn't know wealth, power, or betrayal. His past was gone. Outside, Anna collapsed into a chair, exhausted, unaware that the man she had saved was the heir to an empire. Across the city, Lucas slept peacefully, believing his plan had succeeded. And somewhere else, a powerful family searched desperately for a son who no longer knew he existed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where part 1 ends. Two worlds have collided, a hustler and an heir, sacrifice and betrayal, poverty and power. And nothing will ever be the same again. If this story touched your heart, don't just watch and walk away. Subscribe to Folktales with Oni. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story that could change the way you see life. Like this video to support meaningful African storytelling. Drop a comment and tell us the lesson you've learned so far. Your voice matters. Part 2 is coming with deeper mystery, hidden identities, revenge, love, and shocking truths that will leave you breathless. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Before you go, click on the next recommended video on this channel. I assure you, you'll enjoy every moment. Until next time, stay inspired.